Greetings, good day, good morning. Great to see you all. Welcome to Rich Talk. Here at Rich Talk, we share practical steps and how one can overcome roadblocks in their professional and personal development life. So thank you very much for taking time out your day to spend with me. Also want to ask you to subscribe. We solicit your subscription. If the information is valuable to you, please share it with those who you care about as we are creating new content. And if you have any recommendations, make a comment below this video or you can send me a message directly. Okay, let's begin. So tonight we are diving into overcoming fear. Now, this is a very personal, very close-knit topic because this is something that I've dealt with throughout my life and still grapple with. It's nothing that you totally eradicate. It's something that you learn to overcome. And so today we're talking about overcoming fear. And if you are watching this, I'm sure you've been fearful. And fear, being afraid, being terrified is sometimes the impediment to us jumping over that hurdle and making a great impact in our family, making that great impact in our community because of this terror that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. I get it. I understand Murphy's Law. I understand. But we cannot live our lives in terror and fear. So to overcome fear, we are going over 3 points. One, identifying the root, right? You have to identify what it is first before you can deal with it. 2, accept shortcomings. And lastly, think like a champion. So let's start with identifying the root. Identify the root. Me in particular, my background has a reason into why I developed just a normal pattern of just being afraid and just being pessimistic about how things would unfold. My mom loved me very dearly, but in her care and in her nurture, in many cases, for example, she wouldn't allow me to go to the store by myself. My mom would say, okay, well, if you go to the football field, you're gonna get hurt. Meanwhile, the football field from where we live was actually to the right. So if I literally go out the gate, make a right, mom can see me, grandma could see me, my older sister could see me. But there was this intense fear. And so this is something that I became socialized to. I began to assess every opportunity, every scenario in a very terrified manner. Am I able to do this? And a lot of this was because of how my mom loved me. But many of your family members, maybe it was your uncle, your mom, or someone in your close relationship with your family. These people may not think about it, but they, sir, ma'am, young person, they can be the impediment and one of the reasons why you don't move forward. So they, in many cases, sometimes are the root as to why you develop this pattern of fear. The next thing about fear is, in identifying a root, fear is normal. Fear is actually healthy. If you don't realize that if you touch the flame on a stove, it's going to burn you. I mean, you should be afraid of that, right? You should be afraid that if you're walking on the next, or right immediately next to the hill, you're going to fall over the precipice. Like, you have to have a level of respect for these things. And so fear can oftentimes protect us. But fear should not consume us. Do not let fear consume you. You overcome fear. Don't let fear consume you, because it will. And the second part, as we go over this, is to accept shortcomings. Now, when I say accept shortcomings, I'm not referring to looking at yourself as a failure, as a person who cannot finish a task. Just accept your limitations, right? You will not master every craft. You will not get 100 on every single test. Though that is the goal. You should always aim to do well in what you're doing. But we live in an imperfect world, and we ourselves are imperfect. Accepting that you're not good at everything is a first beginning point for you overcoming fear, because you accept the fact that you are not perfect, and it's fine. You know, some people can cook well, others can't cook well, right? Just accept that and be comfortable with it. Accept your own limitation. And within that, failings are valuable. And so when I say failings are valuable, I mean that situations that did not work out in your life, things that you came up against in terms of roadblocks, these are learning lessons for you. I believe that in many cases, some of the things that I dealt with have helped me. And so I went on a job interview some years ago. To be succinct, I went on an interview, and one of the things that happened is that I showed a lot of enthusiasm, but I did not get the job. And the lady interviewing me, another person, they really wanted me, but the challenge was I didn't know Excel. Could you believe it? I did not know Microsoft Excel. I mean, when they told me that, I was kicking myself in the hiney. I was really, really irate. I'm like, this was the reason why. And so it was a lesson in me. So you know what I did? I went to the public library and I enrolled in an Excel class. And I made it my duty to master that craft. And so in the aspect of overcoming fear, one has to embrace and accept their shortcomings, but also realizing that their failures are opportunities for growth. Your failures are an opportunity for you to learn a lesson. As we wrap up, think like a champion. Think like a champion. Wake up like a champion. Eat like a champion. I'm being a little facetious. But identify with being a champion. Not that you're going to be, or that a champion is someone else, or Sue or Johnny is a champion. No, I am a champion. And identify with that. See, one of the things about realizing that you are a champion and thinking like a champion is focusing and thinking about what you're good at. Okay, so celebrate your strengths, not your weaknesses. In order to overcome fear, to think like a champion, we ought to celebrate our strengths and not our weaknesses, right? So you may be exceptionally good at writing, right? And writing is what you do well. Identify with that and celebrate that. When one celebrates and focus their energy a lot on what they're good at, it serves now as a catalyst. Now you start building momentum. So you start thinking to yourself, well, I can write well, so maybe I can do other things well. Maybe I can try this, maybe I can try and do that. And so you begin to build on one victory to another victory. That's important to identify. And within that, think well of yourself. Think the best of yourself. Expect the best result from yourself. Do not always expect for a bad outcome or for things not to go your way. I actually grew up with a lot of self-esteem issues. A lot of it was by in part because of the traumatic childhood that I grew up in. And so because of a lot of the negative things that were said to me, both from family members and close friends, who I thought were close friends, and even at school, I began to take on a very negative perspective about myself. And so it took me a while to actually feel great about myself and to expect the best out of myself, to the extent that even throughout high school, I actually hated taking pictures. It wasn't until I got to to college that I really started to embrace myself. And because I had this fear that when dealing with people in a public space, I didn't want to talk to other people because I felt like maybe I didn't look pleasing to those individuals, whether it was a social gathering or whatever. I felt like maybe I would say something dumb. And these fears, because of growing up hearing that you're stupid, hearing that you're ugly, or hearing that you're dumb, you begin to identify with these things. And so in order to overcome fear, yes, it's good to identify the root cause, right? Where it's coming from. It's also important to accept your own limitations, your shortcomings. But something that we should do is to expect the best out of ourselves. Expect that you're going to boil water and it's not going to burn, right? Expect that you're going to fry this egg and it's going to be the best egg ever. You understand what I'm saying? Expect that it's going to be a good result. So as we wrap up and talking about what we've been talking about tonight here at Rich Talk and overcoming fear, everyone is going to deal with fear, but the main thing for us to remember is to not let fear consume you. Do not let it consume you. Also, remember, you won't excel at everything. Michael Jordan wasn't good at everything. He tried baseball, golf, and everything, and he realized that he was only good at one thing, and he came back to his first love. That's what you and I ought to do. And lastly, develop a victory complex, not a negative complex, but develop a victory complex. So, wrapping up, overcoming fear, identify root, accept your shortcomings, think like a champion. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for taking time out your day. Please subscribe to our Rich Talk channel. And also, if you have feedback, leave a comment below. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. You have a great day. You are destined for greatness. Destined for greatness. Thank you.